Number 5. Kebu was founded in the 13th century after Sundiata Keita, the emperor of Mali, sent his general Tiramakan Traore to conquer the Senegambia region. Originally serving as a loyal military province and to ensure stability on Mali's western frontier, Kebu gained full independence in the 16th century following the collapse of the Mali Empire. The empire was governed by a strict military aristocracy, the Nancho, and comprised a federation of around 30 vassal states. According to Mandinka griots or oral historians, Kebu was the birthplace of the kora, an iconic 21-string harp lute made from a large calabash. Kebu outlasted the empire that created it by nearly 500 years, only falling in 1867 after a brutal siege by the Fula Jihads. Allied Fula forces led by the Imamati of Futa Jalon and rebellious Fula subjects within Kebu besieged the imperial capital. Kebu's ruling class was so proud of their warrior code that legend says the last king, rather than surrender his capital, blew up his own palace with himself and his enemies inside. Number 4. Loango was governed by an elite hierarchy led by a king known as the Malawango, who theoretically held absolute divine power. Despite this, though, the kingdom utilized a surprisingly decentralized and orderly administrative system. The core province, centered around the capital of Bwali near the modern town of Diosso, Republic of the Congo, was ruled directly by royals. Outlying provinces were often overseen by rotating provincial governors chosen from the royal family or by local dynastic leaders overseen by court officials. Loango sat on the Atlantic coast and grew wealthy by controlling trade in ivory, copper, and raffia cloth, dealing directly with European merchant ships without ever being colonized during its peak. Bwali was described by 17th century European visitors as cleaner and more organized than many European cities of the time. Loango craftsmen were so skilled at woodworking and textile weaving that Europeans began commissioning custom Loango-style carved ivory tusks purely as luxury art pieces. Number 3. Ndongo was a powerful historical African state of the Mbundu people, located between the Lukala and Kwanza rivers in present-day Angola, best known today as the birthplace of Queen Nzinga. Flourishing from the early 16th century, its kings held the title Ngola, from which the name of the modern nation of Angola is derived. Emerging originally as a vassal state of the Kingdom of Congo, Ndongo developed into an independent, centralized power. The society was highly structured, anchored by agriculture, metallurgy, and trade in ivory, salt, and enslaved people. Communities resided in wattle and daub houses. Men produced intricate fabrics from palm and baobab tree bark, and smiths utilized local iron deposits to forge tools and weapons. In the late 16th and 17th centuries, Ndongo engaged in the protracted Ndongo Wars against encroaching Portuguese colonial forces. The kingdom is famously associated with the fierce resistance led by Queen Nzinga in the 1620s. Using tactical brilliance, she allied with neighboring states and fiercely battled Portuguese troops to defend Ndongo's sovereignty. When the Portuguese gained the upper hand, she conquered the neighboring kingdom of Matamba, merging the two realms and continuing her resistance and diplomatic maneuvering. During peace negotiations, when the Portuguese governor refused Nzinga a chair, which was a calculated insult, she reportedly had one of her own attendants kneel down and sat on their back instead, refusing to be treated as an inferior. Number 2. Makuria emerged from the ruins of the Kushite Empire, absorbing neighboring Nubian territories like Nobatia in the north and maintaining dynastic ties with Alodia in the south. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, the kingdom experienced its golden age, characterized by profound political stability, the construction of monumental ecclesiastical architecture, and an advanced agrarian economy heavily supported by water wheels. Makuria adopted Miaphysite Christianity in the 6th century. Interestingly, government and religion were deeply intertwined. Kings were often considered priests, and royal courts functioned as churches. Following the Arab expansion into Egypt in the 7th century, the Rashidun Caliphate launched campaigns against Nubia. Thanks to fierce resistance and masterful Makurian archers, the Arab forces could not break through Dongola's citadel walls. This military stalemate resulted in the Pact, a peace and trade treaty that held for roughly 600 years, one of the longest-lasting treaties in recorded history. This unique mutual non-aggression and trade agreement ensured relative peace and defined the region's geopolitical landscape for over 6 centuries. Makury's golden era eventually waned due to internal civil wars, encroaching Bedouin tribes, and mounting aggressive campaigns by Egypt's Mamluk Sultanate. A major civil war in 1365 drastically diminished the kingdom's territory. The region persisted as a fractured rump state until the Ottoman Empire occupied Lower Nubia in the 1560s, which ultimately paved the way for the region's widespread Arabization and Islamization. Makurian warriors were such skilled archers that early Arab chroniclers nicknamed them pupil smiters, claiming they could shoot an opponent directly in the eye. Number 1. The Chwezi Empire sits right on the border between history and legend. The Bachwezi or Chwezi were a legendary dynasty that ruled the ancient empire of Katara, spanning modern-day Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, and the DRC. Famous for introducing long-horned cattle, iron smelting, and centralized monarchy. Around the 14th and 15th centuries, the Chwezi Empire disintegrated and the Bachwezi vanished mysteriously. Oral traditions suggest they dissolved into the local populations or migrated southward. Their sudden departure paved the way for the incoming Luo-speaking Babiito dynasty, who adopted some of the Bachwezi's royal regalia and governance structures. Today, many descendants in the region consider the Bachwezi to be demigods or spirit figures, and their impact remains a defining feature of the region's heritage. According to legend, the Chwezi rulers didn't fall to war or conquest, but they simply vanished overnight, leaving behind empty palaces and giving rise to centuries of folklore about their eventual return. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.